So this is an anthology that we've been working on for like better part of like a year and a half, maybe even a bit longer than that. But FanFiAddict is the book blog that we're a part of. SFF Addicts is also kind of under that umbrella. And so this is our first foray into doing an anthology with authors from FanFiAddict and SFF Addicts. It's also our first foray into doing crowdfunding with Kickstarter. And so this anthology is kind of just like an experiment in a lot of different ways. And essentially what we came down to is like we decided as a group that we wanted to do something centered around mushrooms. And it was voted upon. So it wasn't necessarily like I didn't have to pressure
You didn't bully
anybody.
anybody.
I did not have to pressure anybody into doing this. And so what we've done is we've come together and we've collected 16 short stories from different authors, all a bunch of really talented people, you know, ranging from sci-fi and fantasy to horror and kind of everything in between, like a lot of genre blending going on in this anthology. And all of the stories are tied together thematically with the Book of Spores, the titular Book of Spores, which you'll see on the front cover very soon. And that frame story is essentially an archivist who is searching searching for evidence of this Book of Spores, researching it, and through her research coming across different worlds that the Book of Spores has infected. And those worlds are the stories themselves that the authors have contributed to this anthology. So Fraser, you can take it away and I'll show off the art.
So it's like this idea of, because what we wanted to do when we were developing this idea is we didn't want to sort of pigeonhole any authors into like a specific genre. We wanted them to be able to write anything they wanted, but we wanted to give everybody something that tied the whole thing together. So this Book of Spores that you can see there, which is just looks so sick, I absolutely love it. Jeff Brown did such a good job on the cover.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff Brown.
Yeah,
just
we love
insanely good.
Yeah, but yeah, so basically we came up with this idea of the Book of Spores, which was something that we wanted everybody to include in their stories. We didn't tell them that this book was basically going to be traveling across the multiverse, but it basically meant that, like, you know, they were able to write with total freedom, whatever genre they wanted. So what we have here is we have such a mix of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. And every single author is writing in the genre that they want to write in and that is strong, that they're strongest with. So we haven't tried to sort of say, right, can you sort of like, you know, rework the way you would normally do a short story for our anthology. We kind of said just run with it and be as wild as you want. And we created this way of being able to do it. So you will see in the cover that the multiverse is alluded to, but you've got all these different flavors. You've got like a spooky mushroom that looks like a little bit like a skull on the back page. You've got the mycelium spreading out, which is a little bit creepy. But then you've also got like,
I can show off just the artwork so you can see a little bit better.
Yeah, you got like crazy planets, you got like sci-fi, like swirling galaxies, you've got like little fantasy little motifs with the little like citadel in the sort of, you know, right. So you've got all of these different things that are incorporated into the cover. So if you were to say like what genre is the cover, you'd just say I don't know, but it looks awesome, and that kind of reflects the anthology really well, because you can't really, it is like the whole of SFF. It's like it's so nice to read. It feels like really complete. So we were stoked when we were getting the stories through and we were seeing what people were coming up with. It was bonkers, man. It was so good.
And one of the really cool things is that because we didn't give them a direction in terms of, we wanted everyone to include the Book of Spores in their stories in some capacity, but we didn't tell them like what is its motivations, what is it doing to your world? Is it an antagonistic force or something that is a little bit more like benign? Because every author is kind of like bringing their own spin to it, and they themselves get to decide like, okay, just because the Book of Spores is going to different worlds doesn't mean that its infection of those particular worlds is viewed as good or bad. It could be you know, one or the other. It could be kind of in between and more like gray area. So it's really cool how everybody interpreted that on their own as well.
And because the archivist is like collecting all of these stories together, there's research that they are doing, a level of research that goes along with it, and so they are looking for this book. So there might be accounts where, you know, it very obviously is a book, right? But there might be other accounts where the book is not necessarily as sort of literal as that, and so they're finding this sort of like all these different concepts within these different stories. But that's something we were able to do by just giving freedom to the authors, just to like go wild with it, you know, and they really, really have. I was so impressed by every story,
Me
and
too.
I was really, really like nervous getting these stories back from people because I was like, what are they going to be like? Are they going to be too similar? Is everybody going to be writing the same thing? And then just seeing like the variety was just, it was so like, and we kind of like wrote itself. It was very cool.
Yeah.